How's it going, world? Cisco Gomez here, and welcome to the Progressing Male. Here, I'm trying to create a space to have open conversations where stigmas might be attached to it. I'm also trying to kind of fight this stereotype that men can't communicate and that we can't access our emotions or be allies. And with the power of two co-hosts, I'm trying to fight with cancel culture. Don't cancel us, teach us. This is an open dialogue, so if we say something crazy or we're out of pocket, just give us a bell right in the comment section and let us know, because we are here to be educated, but we're here to enlighten and hopefully entertain you with these juicy topics. You guessed it, I'm not alone once again. I've got two beautiful men next to me, and the first one is, wow, what can I say about this man? He's just a ginger bright light. He is the beacon of gingerbreadom, if that's a word. Kane Silver, the Ins and Out podcast head man right here. Welcome.
Thank you for having me back.
Yes.
It's lovely to be in your presence.
I talk about ginger a lot, but the thing is, I think you're like the coolest ginger I know, man.
I agree.
Yeah, I think all gingers are cool though.
Really?
Yeah, but you're like up there.
Thanks.
Yeah.
That was nice.
And then to my left, entertainer, and when I mean entertainer, does everything, and a motivational sharer, Dwayne Nosworthy. Hello, my friend.
Hello, my friend.
Thank you for coming back.
Listen, I'm always going to be here. I got time for you, sis.
You do, and you know what you got time for as well?
What's
Fashion, because look at us.
I'm just saying, bro. You just,
I mean, this burnt orange situation.
What
Come
happened?
on,
What
representing Kane. I mean, Kane just needs to take off his beanie and then it'll match.
You just look like my cheerleaders.
Wow.
Oh,
that's a nice comeback. You think I'm gonna
Nice.
smash you?
For those listeners that are not seeing this via YouTube, Dwayne and I are wearing a burnt orange.
Burnt
Some may
orange.
say it's ginger.
Yeah.
And I'm
inspired
orange and I
colour.
always burn.
Clothing, and there you have it.
There you go.
Welcome, boys. Thank you so much for taking the time for joining me today.
Thanks for having us, man.
Today, we're going to get a little deep because I know that men talking about their mental health is still taboo. There's still a stigma attached to it. And one thing that I think every man will, and woman, but men, we're talking about men specifically today, will go through is depression. And the two subjects I want to talk about is depression and feeling replaceable. And they are two subjects that are quite random, but the reason why I chose this title is because in 2020, like all of us, we all went through it in some shape or form. Some of us made six figures, some of us had the best time, some didn't. I was one of the didn'ts, okay? Like, I went down. And one thing that crept up that was at the forefront alongside my depression was that feeling of being always replaceable. And that's the industry's fault. But as you know, I'm an entertainer, so how can I not feel that? So let's start with the 101 question. Have you guys ever experienced depression? Kane?
I've never experienced depression in the moment. Like, I've never been aware that I was depressed. But when I look back over the past 10 years, I can find moments, I look back and I can reflect and go, I think I was suffering a little bit in those moments.
Oh, so it was never like, oh no, I'm depressed at this very moment. It's kind of like looking back, oh, actually that could have been depression.
Yeah. Wow. It's kind of like reflecting back on how I acted or how I carry myself. I look back and I go, what was I going through in that time? And like assessing it, like looking at my past. Whereas, like I said in a past episode, like I've always just kind of been like a just keep swimming kind of guy. Like Dory, just keep pushing through it. Just always overcome it. So I never really sat in the moment of being like, I think I've got depression.
For it to settle. Yeah.
But because I've always just been like, keep busy.
Okay, well, we're going to get back to that, get more specific. But Dwayne, how about you?
That's wow. I feel like a bit like Kane, a bit like Kane, but I know there was like a moment, what I called the moment of clarity. There was a moment when things were dwindling for me professionally, and I wouldn't have called it depression at the time, like Kane. I didn't, but I know that I was suffering from some sort of low frequency. Do you know what I mean? I wasn't me. So I took a moment of what I called a moment of clarity. So I took time out because I always felt like I was there for everybody else, but I was never really there for myself. Do you know what I mean?
Wow.
So I felt like I was, what I call now, I say I dance with depression. But at the time, I would have said I was dabbling and battling with depression. But on some level, I don't think it was like deep depression, but on some level, I was definitely dealing with a version of myself that I wasn't used to. It was a low frequency.
So,
low
I mean,
vibration.
you've really dwelled into it, so we might as well start with you, Dwayne. For our listeners, Dwayne was one of the most successful black dancers, period. And his reign was for, I would say, at least a decade. And it was every artist you can think of. I mean, give our listeners like a little taste of who you danced for.
Oh, you just scare me whenever you do that. Like when you
It's hard to remember, yeah.
It's hard, but I'll start kind of from the beginning. For me, it would have been like, say, Sugar Babes, Jamelia, Victoria Beckham, Dame Bowers. Who else was there? There's so many.
But you did all the tours as well. You did all the promo tours, the Top of the Pops. So you were busy. So you're saying to me that when either dance changed or things started to slow down for you, that's when your brain was like, I'm not happy.
Or this is a change that I'm not used to.
Okay, so talk me through that then.
Well, because for me, it was never about making money. It was never those things that I considered would make me happy. But let's all be honest, it contributes.
Yeah.
I don't think that money makes me happy. I really don't. I don't think all the accolades make me happy, but they do contribute to my happiness. But at the time, being a young man, young boy, I didn't recognize how much of a contribution it made. So when those things slowed down and it was like, oh, I don't have these things, I can't do this and I can't do that, it started to really play with my emotions. You know, I started to play with my feelings and I started to feel low about certain things, and I started to look outside of myself for validation, look outside of myself for comfort, look outside of myself for things that I needed to actually sit down with myself and look inwards instead of outwards.
Was it ego-based?
Definitely, again, a contributing factor, but I was never a guy who really led with ego.
Ego, right.
But it was definitely a huge contributing factor to me feeling low at that time, because my ego wasn't being fed, and my ego was like, yo, big man, what are gone? And you're like, what? You know, like my spirit was like, yo, what are you saying? Who's that? And my ego's like, but who's that? I'm the man that's got you through everything, fam.
Right.
It's us. It's been me. And you're like, why are you so aggressive?
Just talk to me, bro.
You just talk to me on the level. He's like, I'm not aggressive, this is how I talk, passion.
Yeah.
Cool, I hear you. But it was in that moment, I kind of realized, oh, like now, as a grown ass man, 42, I realized, oh, I like you, Kane. I was like, oh, looking back, I was slightly depressed. I didn't call it that. Then I just called it a moment of clarity.
How crazy.
But I was dealing with depression, and now I consider it like I dance with my feelings.
That's what I love about you two. It's like when you think, because our chemistry is, because to an extent we're like-minded individuals, very different.
Yeah.
But like hearing, and we haven't got into your one, Kane, because I specifically want to talk about a topic. And I was going to start with my one just because mine was quite complex for someone that was actually quite, you know, quote unquote together. But after hearing yours, it was just like, wow, I can't relate. You know what I mean? Because my one literally happened. 2020 happened and I was really late to the party. I remember being in my friend Craig's house and going into his fridge and just seeing it oddly stacked. And I was just like, bitch, is there a war happening? Like, you know what I mean? Because he'll be the one that had bits and bobs, but there was more like space than goods in the... And he was like, Cisco, are you not watching the news? I was like, you know, I don't watch the news that much. And he was like, we're going into a lockdown. The virus is out. And I was like, only the virus is out? Oh, is that deep? I was like, I better go shopping. Then I go to the supermarket and, you know, the whole lack of toilet roll. So then reality hit in. Cool. But I had work come in the summer. And that work, I was supposed to be a judge on Dancing with the Stars Ukraine. And mind you, I had booked this particular season, 2020 season, literally less than half an hour after the finale the year before. Literally, as soon as I came back to my changing room, the showrunner was like, next year? I was like, is that an offer or what? And he's like, you're in. I was like, thank you. But you know, in our industry, folks, for those that are not industry people, you don't know until you sign the dotted line because things always change. But I was cushy. You know, I knew I was happy with my contribution to the show. It was a success. So while everyone was panicking about money, while everyone was panicking about what's happening next, whatever, I was like, okay, I just have to stay indoors because Dancing with the Stars told me, oh, we're going to shoot in your home. So it's all going to be via Zoom, whatever. So I was like, oh, and I don't have to travel. Bada bing, bada boom. What's the stress about? Right. Hear the joke though.
Why?
So I'm having like an extended holiday, really. March happens, April happens. The show was supposed to start end of July. June happens, and we're talking about negotiation now. So I know obviously I'm not going to make the same amount of money.
Yeah.
But to me, I'm like, you don't have to pay my per diem per day for my food and expenses. My accommodation, you don't have to pay for, and you don't have to pay for airfare. So you're saving G's already. So that's your discount, in my opinion. And if I go a little bit lower, sure, but that's to my discretion.
Yeah.
I'm confirmed. Cisco will just put green screen in the background, blah, 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 blah. So I'm ready to have this conversation. So the other department calls me to tell me about the money. And I kid you not, guys. Bring. Hello, Francisco. We want to talk about your contribution for Dancing with the Stars. That was my Ukrainian accent. It's really bad. And then we got...
It was hilarious.
Oh, thank you. I mean, I am a hilarious guy. And then they get to the money part. And with a straight face, they go to me, so the amount we're going to offer you is zero.
They actually said the word.
The amount.
They said zero.
The
Did
amount.
they say zero or did they say nothing? I want to know. Like,
Zero.
It said zero.
Zero.
Did they not say it's for the experience? Like we normally get.
No, because you have to understand as well, like, they can't say that line because they know who they're dealing with.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? This is not my first time at the rodeo. And my life in Ukraine, for the listeners who aren't Ukrainian, you know, my life is different there. You know, I'm a C-list celebrity over there.
Yeah.
You know, I was a B-list, but, you know. Times change.
As you said, things change.
But, you know, I'm being a judge, being on TV in Ukraine specifically is my judge. So to be offered zero, obviously I felt disrespected, but obviously because I'm a changed woman now, I was like, I'm going to politely decline, but just to let you know, never ever are we going to engage in a conversation where zero is going to be ever applied to me or even mentioned towards me. That's disrespectful. And given the pandemic, you should never do that because my worth, what I contribute and my talent is worth more than that number. Good luck. Cool. And that was that. Now, I try to be that bad bitch to be like, you know, shame on you, but it affects me because now I had to sink into reality. Now, what other people were going through in the pandemic,
now you know how everyone else feels.
but in the space of a conversation, and that was a lot to take in.
Right.
Because I really do pride myself in separating myself from the industry, but money's money. I help support my mum to an extent. I've got bills to pay. You know, it wasn't clarified in LA because I was living in LA at the time. It wasn't clarified. Was there going to be, you know, was the rent going to be frozen? None of that was specified. So we had to pay our bills, and I was paying my bills up to that point. And then it was a spiral. But I didn't realize, and what I did was I was like, oh, now that I'm part of the crew of people that have no jobs or we have to stay in lockdown, my friend Craig and I, we just kept on watching videos, binge watching stuff, heavily drinking, and then we would convert our living rooms into little clubs and dance the night away. And, you know, you would forget what day it was. And then I couldn't sleep. So insomnia, and it was chronic insomnia because it felt like I was always jet lagged or my stomach was always turning and twisting, and I would literally be awake for like 16 hours or 18 hours, sometimes even 20 actually, and then the blinds would never come on or go up, and I would always be in darkness. I wouldn't shout, like it got really bad, and I was like, Cisco, like this is not right. And then I wouldn't do like my segments on Instagram because for those that don't know, Gex in the City, my brand, I post everything on Instagram. Stopped doing that. So I'd lost myself, my spark, my passion. And then I got onto one of these sites, you know, which I don't do anymore because because of these NHS or like government sites, I've had cancer 5 times, HIV 5 times. And, you know, because, you know, I've self-diagnosed myself. It's a big mistake. But I was like, something's up. And then I got to this page that talked about what the stages of depressions are. And the only thing that I didn't have was suicidal thoughts. And as soon as I read it all, something clicked. And I was like, oh, shit. I'm depressed and I can count. It's been like 4 months now. So this is nearer to Christmas and I've just been able to articulate it. And I'm like, oh, God, no. But I'm a person, like, I've always said, whatever happens in my life, whatever I feel emotionally, I have to honor it.
Yep.
I honor it and give it its time. It's just that I wasn't prepared for the other stuff because what depression did, it's resurfaced things that maybe I wasn't paying the attention it deserved or needed. And it started changing the way I dealt with things. I'm not a paranoid person. I started getting a bit paranoid. I'm not a person that kind of distributes blame. I'm very much like, even I don't need you to apologize to me. Like, it's not an ego thing with me, right? But I started like being mad at people for them not checking up on me, or like, how am I? Because I'm like, oh shit, I'm the worst out here. I'm in the quicksand. Can someone help me? Because prior to this, I'm the one helping everyone, or I'm accessible, or they can access me.
Yeah.
So my depression took me for a really shit moment, because one of the biggest things that I was fighting with is being replaceable. I was like, just like that, like, it doesn't matter. And then I would see the show, it went on normal without me. And then the next season, last year, I got offered it again. And I was just like, well, to be quite honest, I'm a bit bummed about what happened last time. So no discounts, blah, 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 blah. I was a bit more forward. Cisco, we want you. Then another judge gets announced, and I'm like, I've either been replaced or they've got 4 judges instead of 3. I got replaced, but I found out by the internet. And so it resurrected that to me. And I was just like, damn, like, you're not, my self-worth is so precious to me. Don't do that to me, man. Like, don't do that to me. And it just took me, it was about to take me back there. But because of the partner that I have now and my friends, once they found out I was depressed, I'm okay now. So when it happened the second time, I was like, no, I'm equipped. Now, second time, shame on you, Cisco, because you expected more of them.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But my depression, it was such a stretch. And I didn't know who I was in the mirror. I didn't look right. I didn't sound right. And it was just bad. I put on so much weight. And I probably did more sleeping than I did anything living.
Wow.
My life paused. And it was for the first time.
So you were just existing.
If you could call it that.
Wow.
If you could call it that. And I remember, like, even the stuff that I did film, you can tell that it was like, I have to be on. Like, Cisco wasn't happy.
You knew the spot.
Yeah, because I'm so genuine.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah,
And
yeah,
I was like, oh, fuck. I got sucked in.
Wow.
It's nuts hearing you say that, because, like, knowing you and knowing all your things that you bring to the table as a human, like, you're the fun one, like with your Mama Gomez, you're the one that you're there for other people. Like, I remember you always, like, if someone's on a down or on a low, you're always the one to, like, encourage them or help them out with something. So to think that you're the one now who needs help is so weird to me, because I see you as Mama Gomez. Do you know what I mean? Like, and you're a social bunny. You're always the happy one. You're always the party in the room.
Yeah.
So to think of you not being that way is so mad.
You know what it is? I felt, and it's no one's fault but mine. It's just when you come to terms and at peace with that, when you give, you shouldn't expect. And you've been practicing that for over a decade. And here comes this moment of weakness, this space, this kink in the armor. And I just didn't have the arsenal to defend myself. And so I was there in my living room and I was like, fuck. And it's weird. I could play back every single person that I helped. I can play back every student that I did that extra bit more. What I've done for the industry, anything that was an extra mile, it all came back to me. And I was like, this is why I don't have it for myself. I was like, fuck, I should have done me. Because depression prior to that was never an option. Because what do I have to be depressed about?
Yeah.
What? Like, my career, stellar. My friends, stellar. Life, cool. But I didn't have anything left, man. And I just felt, honestly, I felt like an empty fucking shell.
I remember you calling me in lockdown, and me and George were having a movie night, and we were messaging, and then you rang me, and I was like, oh, wait, Cisco's called in, and we were on the phone for like an hour, and you kind of said, like, I think, like, you know, I've figured out I'm depressed. And I just remember laying literally on my bed speaking to you, being like, what the fuck is going on? Like, in this world, like, to make this happen to someone who I would never have ever associated with being depressed.
Yeah, it was so sad. It was so sad. It was really, really sad, because it was just like, you've got the power and the ability to help everyone, even the person you don't even know. But this one time where you had to just be there for yourself, it's not that you didn't want to, you just couldn't. And to surrender to that concept was like, jeez.
And don't you think that all the tools or things that we would normally use in a normal day-to-day life to be there for yourself were taken away from us? So, like, all the things that make you happy and release endorphins, like going
Dance
to maybe
classes.
eat in a restaurant, going to dance class, seeing your friends, exercise. Like, a lot of these things were all taken away from us, and they're all vital parts which build us as humans and to release positive endorphins. So you know, we're sat on the couch all day binge watching telly in a dark room. You're bored. You end up eating shit. Like, you end up not exercising as much. Like, all these things which cause a low, and there was nothing to cause a high.
Yeah, you're right.
And it wasn't even, you know, and we kept being sold, like, it's going to be 2 weeks. It's going to be 3 weeks. Like,
Right.
like, we kept being told, like, there's an end. So you're like, I can do this for a little bit longer.
Yeah.
I can do this for a little bit longer. Like, a year in, and we're like, how many, like, bottles of wine have you drunk? How much TV have you watched? How many times have you not left the house?
Yeah.
For how many days? Like, that's actually what we call isolation in prison.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
no,
it
you're
was.
right.
It
Like,
felt like
you know what I
prison.
mean? Like, that's what we
Yeah.
do to people to, like, if you've done something really bad, we put you in a room on your own and we don't let you socialize.
Yeah.
That's what we were going through.
That's so crazy. Because listening to you guys, it's like, that's why it was such a big thing for me to live by my slogans, as you guys know.
yeah.
Why it's so important for me to fill my cup up.
Mm.
Do you know what I mean? And I don't give from my cup.
Mm.
I've got 3 kids. Yeah? Interesting.
Explain. You don't give from your cup.
I don't give from my cup.
But
I
you
only
have
give from my
3.
overflow. Nobody gets from my cup.
There you go again. Please explain.
Give it to us.
Yeah. Actually, do you know what? I think our listeners need to hear that again. Let's repeat the bomb one more time. The gem, I should say. And
right.
then please elaborate, Dwayne.
All right, cool. So, I got this from Ayana Edvan, yeah, who is she's amazing. If you want to see her, you could check her stuff out. Fix My Life, Ayana, or check her out on Oprah. But she always says, like, I'll say it again, Cisco. I don't give from my cup. I only give from my overflow. All right. So what's in the cup is for me. What comes out of the cup is for you.
Come through.
My kids do not get from my cup. And they are an extension of me. Wow. If I had life doesn't require us to live in this sacrificial way that we keep kind of presenting to ourselves. So, like, if I say what I said now, a lot of people will misunderstand what I've said as me not being there and being willing to sacrifice myself for my child. That's not what I said. If I had to pick between me living or dying, or my kids living, I'm picking them. But life doesn't require us to live in that sacrificial love.
Oh my gosh. Oh.
It doesn't. But that's what society says. And we forget that we are society. So when we're saying society says it, that's us saying it. We say that to ourselves and each other. I stopped saying that to myself, bro. I stopped saying that to my kids. I'm not gonna teach my kids to put themselves first, but then not be the leading example of what that looks like. It doesn't make any sense. So I don't want my kids to live by sacrificing themselves. Yet all I do is show them me sacrificing myself.
That's what we do, though, isn't it? It's like your
And
pain is my pain. I'll do this for you. I'll take this for you. And it's just
I'm
like,
not doing it, Cisco.
yeah.
I did that.
It makes so much
I
sense.
did that, bro. So I know for a fact, that I have to keep my cup full. Right?
Because the overflow's enough.
The overflow is enough
It
for
keeps
you.
on flowing.
If you are trying to take from my cup, unfortunately, it doesn't happen. Like, that's how I dealt with depression, fellas. That's how I dealt with feelings. That's why I say I dance with it now. So what I do now is I understand that I'm the sky and every thought, feeling, and emotion are passing clouds. Right? So I know when I'm dancing with my feelings, depression or whatever it is, we want to label it, I actually welcome my feelings in to, let's talk, let's have a cup of tea, let's have a drink, let's have a chit chat. I welcome you in, but you're not welcome to stay.
Yeah, me too. I do that as well. I'm
You're
like,
not welcome to stay here. So I understand AAEE. I AAEE every thought, feeling, and emotion. I acknowledge, I accept, I experience, and I embrace everything.
do you know what mine's? Mine's ADP.
What's that?
Acknowledge, dismantle, and then proceed.
Woo! I like that. But you understand?
Yeah, man.
It's the same thing.
You got to keep it simple sometimes,
You've got
man.
to keep it simple. So I acknowledge, I accept, I experience, and I embrace any and every single thought, feeling, and emotion. All of it. And I dance with it. We have a dance, but you're not welcome to stay.
Yeah.
I know that I don't become my thoughts, feelings, and emotions. I know that I'm the sky. I know that I'm my core foundation of who I am, my spirit. And I know that the human experience will tell me that I'm my thoughts, feelings, and emotions. I know that society will tell me that. But I'm not. And I know that.
Wow, wow, wow. Jesus and wows. That was incredible. I think I got emotional because it was like, if I had that analogy or that way of thinking, who knows where my depression would have gone or not gone.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. It's amazing. And please rewind it. my listeners and go back to that. I think, am I right in saying, always give the outpour, never give what's in your cup?
Basically.
Oh, gosh.
Just give from the overflow.
Bars. Amazing. Now, what's fascinating about your comment earlier on, Kane, was that, you seem to be a person that acknowledges the problem for a while, but you focus more on moving along because maybe it's too traumatic, or you don't want to deal with it, or maybe a bit of both. So to hear you say that you haven't identified with depression fully kind of surprised me, because I know, and you talk quite openly about it, about when you lost your brother to suicide. And I don't have a sibling, so I can only imagine how that didn't make you depressed. I don't know. So talk me through that, because I find it hard to believe that didn't depress you.
I think that is I don't think that's the thing that made me depressed. I think it contributed to me being depressed 100%, but I didn't acknowledge it at the time. I acknowledged it later when I look back. At the time, I was just so I found out that my brother killed himself when I was going on set to do a vodka commercial.
You're joking.
So I arrived at 6:30 a.m. We were all on a minivan. Might cry. We were all on a minivan, and my mum rings me. My mum never rings me. I always ring my mum. I was like, what's up? I'm at work. And she's like, she told me. And I obviously just started crying. And I was at the back of the bus, and Matt Day was sat behind me, and Alex Shorndoff was sat next to me. And everyone got off the bus except Matt Day. And I just remember breaking down and him just holding me and being like, because I know what he's been through in his life. He's had a really tough experience in life. Right. And just taking 10 minutes to try and understand what's happened.
Yeah, just compute everything.
Just compute everything, because it's I can't even explain it. It's it's not real. It didn't feel real, but it hurts so bad.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It was a physical pain in my body, even though there was nothing physically wrong. Do you know what I mean? And all I kept thinking was about how I didn't have that relationship with my brother that I wish I could have had. And I never thought about it until that moment.
So it was regret.
Regret from the jump. I couldn't even tell you the last time I saw him. You know what I mean? Our childhood, we were close. We played together a lot. But as soon as I went on to do a dance career, I was very selfish about what I wanted to achieve. And I always put my goals first.
Yeah, you said that. You always goal-driven first.
Goal-driven first before anything. So, as performers, what are we taught? We're drilled into us that the show must go on. So when I went on set, they were like, you can go home. And I was like, no. And they were like, what? You're going to stay? And I was like, yeah, just don't ask me to do any of that extra bullshit where I have to stand and hold a cup. You know what I mean? Don't be taking the piss out of me. But I'll stay and do the shoot for the sake of everyone else on this job, because we've all been through this rehearsal together. We've all done this together. By me leaving, then makes everyone else's life more
because they have to learn a new track and they have to change things.
You don't know, right? And it was the set that it was on, it was again, I'm not a spiritual or religious person, but if I could imagine what heaven looked like, it's this. It was where they shot the New Flame video in the water, and I think Blake McGrath had a music video there before as well, in the desert, and everything is white and it's water, and it was 1,000 degrees, so I'm ginger, so that doesn't help anyway. And they put me in a room on my own in this little tent, and then whenever they needed me, they called me out, and I'd do the dance. And I just remember being there and leaning on this white ball, and someone actually took a photo of me, and it was really weird that they took a photo of that moment, and I don't know why they did, but when I look back, I'm that explains every emotion in my body. I'm just slumped over this big white ball, crying, waiting for them to go, and again, and I'd wipe my eye, and then I'd start dancing again.
Wow.
And my brain that whole time was just going, just get through this. All you've got to do is get through this. You can't change anything. There was nothing I could do to go back to make it better. It was just you have to overcome this. And I feel I use that for everything in my life, that I have to just overcome, no matter what obstacle it is or how it makes me feel. I just go, I'm not going to surrender. And I know you use the word surrender as a positive a lot of the time, but I'm not going to be defeated. I'm a warrior. I'm a fighter. This isn't going to stop me from achieving what I really want, because that isn't why I've been selfish. That isn't why I've worked my ass off.
Yeah.
To stop now. He wouldn't want that. No one would want that. I wouldn't want that. So I think my whole life, I never sit in the moment, because I'm if this feels shit, if I keep going, I'll get past it. And then,
Kane, you're not dealing though.
No. And then I think moving home helped so much.
Yeah.
Because then I got to be with my family. And then it was when I say that didn't cause the depression, but it was definitely a contribution, then I was trying to deal with I left LA and I didn't fully achieve all the things I wanted to achieve.
It was like your destiny was interrupted.
Yeah, but I would never
Change that.
But it was just, it's like, it's always been that thing. It's like, you know, you go, what if I'd stayed there? What if my dreams might have come true? Like every like thing I ever imagined, because I'm that person that fights until it comes true. And it's the first time I was like, do you know what? I'm going to come home. And I felt like I gave up. Do you know what I mean? I felt like I quit.
Was there resentment towards the situation with your brother? Because obviously there's regret that you didn't get to spend time with him, but here's you also fighting with like, I think I want to go to LA because I've got unfinished business, but my circumstance with my brother is keeping me here. Was there resentment towards that?
No, not at all. I was so afraid of anything ever happening again to someone in my family.
So that's why you wanted to stay close.
I was like, if that, like, I have 2 other brothers. Like,
has that changed your relationship with them?
I've always been close to my one. Like, they're both 2 are on my dad's side, and then 1 was on my mum's side. My one on my mum's side, Ethan, we're like super close. Like, he's very introverted, but like, I'm his hero. Like, it sounds weird, but like, I love him as if you imagine what loving a kid would be like, because it's like such a big age gap between us. And my other brother, we weren't close at all growing up. Like, I was closer to Jacob, the one that died. But now, even though me and my brother don't speak very often, it's like, I think about him more than I ever think about him, than I've ever thought about him. And I always be like, I'll randomly message him, like, just so you know, love you. Like, just trying to
That's
like,
important.
just so you know, like, you're not on your own. Like,
And
it's
he knows
not,
that you can feel that.
and it's not all the time, but it's like every now and then, because it's still a step. And he's like very proud. He's a man's man.
Man's man, yeah.
As we like to put it. You know what I mean? And then I feel like the older I've got, and I've looked back on how I dealt with scenarios, like maybe how I acted on jobs, how I dealt with situations, I wasn't my fullest I could be as a human. Like, I always think I'm the fun, happy one. And when I look back, I was actually the negative Nelly.
Yeah.
Like, I was the one that if there was
hurting.
I was the one that if there was a problem, instead of being like, we can overcome the problem, I'd dwell in it and I'd bitch about it and I'd moan about it and I'd be that person, and that's not who I am. And now I go, oh, all this was in the same time frame. Like, all this was within a year of within a year of that happening. And
So
like, I was grieving, but without grieving to anyone, and using other things as ways
a punching
to
bag.
release,
Yeah.
to release my anger and emotion.
So
But I couldn't see that at the time.
now that you can, though, what haven't you dealt with then? With the parting of Jacob, what haven't you dealt with? Because you keep on saying overcome, which to me, when you say overcome, it means to move forward, to leave behind. But knowing you personally and knowing this situation more in depth, the more we speak, you haven't dealt with some of the contributing factors. So what are those factors, and how can you deal with it now that you've got the tools to, maybe?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I genuinely don't know how I would deal with it. Like, in an ideal world, I'd be able to go and spend some time with him and have the relationship I wish I had. But I don't know how to do that. Right. It's impossible. So all I try and do is have a better relationship with my brothers that I do have and my friends that I do have. And I pour love into all the people around me because I don't ever want to have this feeling ever again. Because it is the worst feeling in the entire world.
Damn. It's one of those things, isn't it? We're not promised time. It's something that can't be reversed or played with, and it's such a shame that it took that circumstance to awaken the value of love and to know that your career doesn't come first all the time. But I think you've dealt with it amazingly, because you're still not only successful in your career but also within yourself. And I really do think, even though I don't think you've dealt with it completely, you've definitely acknowledged it enough for it not to hinder you and for you to help others. Do you know what I mean? Because I think with life, that's why I keep on going back to the dealing thing, because heaven forbid, but it's going to come round where you're going to be that person to help. And it's difficult to give advice or to be there for someone where it's just knowledge as opposed to experience.
1000%.
So to experience it is different, and that you can really save a life by doing that.
Yeah.
So if you're in a situation where you saw another Kane going through the same situation, how would you approach them or give them advice for them going through what they're going through, like losing a brother through suicide?
If they had the exact same scenario as me, go home and be with your loved ones. Like, cherish those moments, because you can't get them once they're gone. Yeah. Like, I'm never going to fulfill that cup. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm aware of that. I'm never going to refill that cup. I'm never going to be able to get that experience that I wish I could have. But what I can do is make sure that I have a great experience with everyone else in my life. So my advice for someone else would to be is like, you can't change it. You can just accept it. You just have to accept it. So is what it is. Yeah. It's acceptance. And I've accepted it. But it doesn't make it better. It doesn't make it easier. It doesn't make it okay. It just means I can't change it.
Right.
So just go and spend your time with the ones that you can spend it with and have moments with them. Prioritize them as well as keeping your cup full. And mine is by doing things I love, by staying busy, because I love being busy. But I also have to make time to go and visit my family back in Wales, speak to my brother on the phone, like make sure that I balance better, because I wasn't balanced at all. I always say that when I look back, I was Kane the dancer, not Kane the human.
Right.
I was very work driven. I was always trying to achieve my dreams and never trying to fill my cup as a human.
And so that's why you said you were being the negative Nancy, because it was like you were projecting at your passion, because in your head,
that's the thing which got me to the dance.
It interrupted your relationship. Wow. Never. I think it's safe to say just never take life or time for granted. You know what I mean? Because tomorrow isn't promised.
Exactly.
So if it's you, a family member, and even an acquaintance, student, whoever who does go, you want to be like, you know what, but I maximized my experience with them to the fullest, and they knew where they stood with me, and it was in a place of love.
1000%.
Wow.
1000%.
And, you know, I know for a fact that just men, we don't have these conversations. And you don't even have to solve it, but just having it is like, you know what I mean? And it gives more space for other stuff, or to acknowledge other things. Because I just think, like, as men, because society-wise, you know, head of the house, have to be masculine to survive, you know, have to provide. And it's like, that takes a toll, and it makes us ignore important things, which is like, how do we actually feel? What is really important? How do I time manage things properly so everyone gets this love who gets me, you know what I mean? Not just my profession, not just my family. You know, we have to I guess split ourselves evenly as much as we can, because if not, I think that's when the scale starts to tip and we start going through harder things than maybe it's necessary.
Well, exactly.
Where are you now? Because I feel like with you, Dwayne, like you've come to a conclusion and you're living by your truth, right? But how are you now with it? Like, looking back at it, do you reckon anything like that can happen again to you?
Yes, but not in the same way. Or should I say, yes, it can happen, but it would never affect me in the same way.
In the same way, right? Because you're
because I'm
more prepared?
I mean, I am more prepared, yes, but you can never be fully prepared.
Yeah.
But I'm more prepared. Like, for you, what you spoke about, Kane, for me, I feel like cancer's been trying to catch me in some way, shape or form.
Really? Can you elaborate on that, please?
On that, because, like, I've been the partner of someone who currently is still dealing with having cancer. Cassie, who has it in a lower sacrum. You know, I can speak these things, but I also have to respect that it's her business. So there's certain things that she likes to keep private, but I like to publicly share what's privately owned. Yeah. So I've been the partner of someone who's dealing with cancer. I've been the son of, and I've been the brother of, and I've been the nephew of. Yeah. I've lost an auntie. Fortunately, Cassie is good, all clear in a sense whereby she had radiotherapy and they've done all they can for her. They've stunted the growth. So it's no longer going to be anything that could necessarily be critical. Yeah. My mum's in remission, say probably 3 years. My sister recently in remission. My mum had breast cancer. And my sister had bowel cancer, stage 4.
Wow.
But they're here. You understand? They're still here. And me and Cisco spoke about it briefly before. I never once took their cancer as mine. I never once took on their illness. Do you understand? Like, I knew that the moment of clarity that I had years ago when I was like, whatever, 20, it prepared me for what was about to come and happen. Because watching your partner go through a certain, I guess, illness, and then your mum, like, I watched my mum pass out. I watched my mum pass out on her sofa, And I had to just like, I didn't know whether she was dead or whether she had just passed out. But I watched her, and in that moment, I tell you, look, straight, I feel it now, and I express that because I'm in a safe space to express how I feel. But in the moment, I wasn't scared. I wasn't sad. I just knew that I had to show up.
Yeah, you were ready.
I was cool. I was fine. Like you said, you look back and you feel these emotions and all these feelings. But at the time, I was cool because I was already kind of prepared for worst case scenario, so to speak. I'm not afraid of death. I'm just not, because I understand that with life comes death. So I'm not afraid of it. Would I want and prefer any of that to happen to my loved ones? Of course not. But am I aware of the fact that that is going to happen one day, someday? Yes. So am I going to allow that to dictate and define me as a person? No. I'm not. So being the partner of, the son of, and the brother of, not the sister of, there's times when I've, like, even when my mum came to and she was awake, she vomited while she passed out. I had to clean up my mum, send her upstairs, go have a shower, all of these things. And when she came down and she was feeling a little bit better, we laughed. But I had the opportunity to do that, bro. It could have been so different. She might not have been there to laugh with.
Right.
So for me, like you said, Cisco, I cherish everything, but I don't get lost in the thoughts and the feelings and the emotion. When I say I don't get lost, I just mean I don't focus, feed, and lead with the thoughts, feelings, and emotions.
You don't make it your, like, because I remember the profound thing you said is like, I want to show up for my family members and I'll be there, but it's not my cancer, so I can't attach myself with the emotions that attaches that person who's going through it, because that's when it gets bigger and worse.
And then I get unwell.
Yeah, of course.
And cancer likes stress. Cancer feeds off stress. So now, cancer's trying to find me through all these other avenues, and I'm saying, you can't catch me, brother. And you're not gonna catch me by trying to cause some other type of trauma by me taking on board Cassie's cancer, my mum's cancer, or my sister, or my aunt's, because their cancer is not mine. And I have to remember that, because by me remembering that, I'm able to show up and be there for them in the way that they deserve.
Absolutely.
In the way that they need. Whereas if I'm stressing and I take on, I only give from my overflow. I never gave them, and I didn't lose one night's sleep, guys. So although you see me here in a certain space feeling the emotion, I promise you, I didn't lose sleep. That doesn't mean that I never cried. That I called up my boy AZ one day, just like, I don't know what else to do. I just want to take it away. And I can't. I was crying my eyes out. So it's not that I didn't feel the emotion. I did. I just never became it. I never focused, fed, and led with it.
It's important.
It's funny, because don't you feel like as well, some people would go, well, you don't care. Why don't you care? Like, it's
so
as
they
if
decide that that's care.
It's because they're not listening.
Yeah,
they heard him, but they're not listening.
Yeah, that's what I mean. But so many people would be offended by that and be like, well, you don't care. Like, but what you're saying is you do care, but you can't let that take control of you.
Of you as well, because now it's two of you, or three of you.
But I care.
So
but
powerful,
I do care,
like people,
Kane. I do care.
I know you do.
I know. But guess what? And they say, but you don't. And I say, no, I do care, but I just care about me first, not me only. That's it. Like, if I care about you before I care about me, then where am I going to be? You know, I used the analogy before, I think anyway, about being on a plane. You have to put your mask on first before helping anybody else with them and theirs. So for me, I knew no matter what was happening with those people that I loved and cared about, regardless of our situation and circumstances, right? I still love these people and I'm going to show up for them. I know that I was never, ever going to give from my overflow. Sorry, from my cup. I was only going to give from my overflow. I knew what that looked like. I knew then that actually I could do that better now. Yeah, or then in that moment, I could do that actually. Because now I've got the tools. I actually know how to do it. So I'm not going to change that just because now it's happening. It looks and appears different. And everybody else is going to think that I'm doing this and doing that. I don't care what you think. I know who I am. I know my intention. And I know I lead with love. And if you see my love as something else, that's on you. That's a you problem.
Yeah.
It's not a me problem.
Then we're not compatible.
I've really started trying to use that, like, that's not a me problem, that's a you problem.
Oh, I love that line.
Like, when shit happens and I go like, that sounds like a you thing, bro. Like, not a me thing.
Yeah.
And like, and it comes across quite selfish, but like, it's one thing that's really helped me, especially the last year, Like even with like little shit, you know what I mean? When someone's like starts bitching and moaning about something, I'm like, yo, bro, like
But you know what?
I'm here for you, but that's a you thing.
It's a boundary. When you create boundaries that are not stemmed from selfishness and it's actually to benefit the situation, you have to do it because you know, I was that person too, that your problem was my problem.
Yeah.
I have to laugh over here.
Like,
that is so true.
like, and enough. No, because where am I in that equation?
Exactly.
Like, where am I? Wow. Thank you so much, boys, for sharing that, because we don't have these conversations. We definitely don't have it men on men. It's not enough anyway. And I feel like even speaking about it, it really is, it can be the catalyst to not only self-improvement, but self-awareness. And I think the more aware we are, the more we can take on. So if it is depression, if it is a cancer or whatever else life likes to throw at us, we're ready, we're more aware. Why? Because we are doing the work internally as men.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
And thank you to you guys for making this feel like a safe space.
Oh, always, Kane.
important.
Oh my God, always, brother, always.
Thank you, brothers. Thank you.
Yes. And so the progressive question this episode is pride more important than your mental health? Thank you so much for listening. And remember to always keep it real without the spiel.